Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Sarah from Who I Am Among the Pages, and I didn't mess it up this time. And if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope you decide to stick around by clicking that subscribe button down below. And if you're not new here, if you've been coming, thanks for coming back. I've missed you so much. So today is just a beautiful day where I live. It is not so horribly humid and hot like it was the past few days. It's kind of calmed down. It's just gorgeous. It's perfect to be outside. So I had the idea to kind of go over my top 5 favorite books, or at least favorite kinds of books, for summer, because it is just the most beautiful day to sit outside and read, and definitely after I finish this video, that's where I'm going to be. So just a few updates. Chapter 1, the official first chapter of my Harry Potter fanfic, What Happens After, will be released by kind of late this evening. It could be as late as like 10 o'clock. I'm not really sure, but it is definitely going to be out at some point today. And today is June 24th. It's a Wednesday, in case you're curious, like 10 years from now. So that'll be out today, and I am starting on rewriting chapter 3 of my number 9 story on Wattpad. So that should be out in the next couple of days. I would expect that by Monday at the latest, so June 29th, I think. I can't really see the calendar, I don't have my glasses on. So everything will be coming out soon. Still working on my original novel. I am starting to wonder if I want to publish this traditionally or whether I want to try the self-publishing route first, sort of be an indie author for the first go round. I'm not really sure. I have seen more on self-publishing and more about it, and I kind of like the idea of it, so I'm definitely tossing it around, but it's still underway. It's still, I'm still writing it. That's the important part. And so yeah, let's get into the video. So during the summer, I mean, I read a lot. I mean, you know, I'm a college student, so during the summer I've always had more time to read, even, you know, even with work and everything. When I've had jobs during the summer, I have more time, plain as that. And I usually go for very specific things during the summer, and it tends to either be like contemporary romance, which I've read more of recently than I really ever have. It's never been my thing necessarily. So I go for those because I like lighthearted and something that's cheery and bright that kind of reflects the weather, and I feel better during the summer, so it just brings it all together. Number 2, I really like horror books. I love old Stephen King, especially. I did read a Dean Koontz, and I did not care for that. That freaked me out too bad. I love gritty horror, gross, just shocking stories during the summer because, you know, it's such a lighthearted time, and there's, at least for me, I've been lucky enough during the summers, there's usually not a whole lot on my mind. Like, I'm not too worried about anything. So reading something that weighs heavier on me and kind of freaks me out and puts me in a very would-be negative headspace doesn't really bother me. Like, I like being kind of freaked out. And around Halloween, you know, I'm in school, it's kind of chaotic. It's not really a good time to have like something negative to be reading. And number 3, or C, I really like picking up huge fantasy books during the summer because fantasy I've always loved. Adult fantasy is something I haven't ventured very far into, but when I have, it's been during the summer because I have so much more time to read these enormous books, and fantasy requires so much brain power and attention to really be able to absorb all that's going on. And really during the summer, I feel like it's the only time I have that brain power to spare. So those are the 3 things I go towards or gravitate towards during the summer. So these books are not exclusive. This isn't the only 5 books I'm saying you can read during the summer, or you should read during the summer, or you have to read during the summer. I'm just saying these are the titles, or at least the types of books that I really, really enjoy during nice weather, reading poolside, even though that's not happening this year, on the beach, so on and so forth. So the first book is one of my favorites, and I forgot how much I loved it until recently when I saw little clips of the movie. But it is Christine by Stephen King. And don't judge this copy. I bought it secondhand at our library sale, and I just think it's so cool because it's a 1983, I think was the copyright on it edition. I mean, the price on it says it's US $3.95. So, I mean, you can't buy a paperback for that, and you haven't been able to buy it for that for a long time. So I do love this edition. But Christine, in case you didn't know, it is basically follows these two boys. They're really good friends, which is something I really like finding in books, is a male friendship that doesn't go into romance, because I don't think it's covered very much at all in fiction. It's just male friendship. And of course, I'm not male. I've never experienced it, so it's really interesting for me to read about. You're following these two boys. One of them, for the umpteenth time, I'm sorry, I don't know why my phone won't let me record, and I am down to like literally 6 apps. And I have purged my photos, and it's not affecting anything. So I'll try to talk to somebody about that. I'm sorry. I'll try to get a camera. It sucks. So I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. But so it follows these two boys. One is pretty athletic. The other is less so, and he's a little bit of a loser. Not so much so. The best I remember, I didn't think he was that bad. And the one boy gets a hold of a car. It is a 1957 Plymouth Fury, if I remember right. And long story short, it is haunted. It causes them all kinds of hell. And it ends in travesty. It is really, really horrible at the end. And I loved it. I ate it up. It was such a unique idea, and I'm a sucker for a good ghost story anyway. So ghost stories at all are things I gravitate towards, but especially Stephen King and especially Christine, because I read this when I was like a sophomore in high school and just loved it. I thought it was genius, and this book was the first I'd ever read of his, and I just fell in love. I read The Shining like a month later, and again, in love. Any ghost story, any Stephen King. Darcy Coates is an up-and-coming author that is just, she's a genius. The Haunting of Ashburn House and The House Next Door, I believe, are the two that I've read. Really good ghost stories, really just classic, and I love them. I love a good ghost story, especially during the summer, because again, you know, nothing's weighing too heavy on my mind, thankfully, right now, and I love being freaked out. So to switch gears entirely, like I said, I do enjoy just light and fluffy, funny, contemporary fiction, and especially romance during the summer. So, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. So, I mean, this book has been raved about on here, and I'm not going to go too into it because there's wonderful synopses of this out there that I really couldn't do any better. So basically, you're just following Alex, who is the son of the first female president of the United States, as he begins to get involved with the prince, or one of the princes of England, Henry. And at first they start out as kind of adversaries, and we kind of see a haters, enemies to lovers trope in here. It's really good. It's really funny. It has some politics in it, which makes it very believable and very easy to get lost in, because again, I love stuff with royal families, and this kind of thing is just right up my alley. And I didn't even really know I liked this until I read Red, White, and Royal Blue, because it was just so original and so much different from anything I'd ever read. I tend to stay away from chick lit, but this is just an amazing book, and I thought about rereading it and doing a book rant on it, because this is just such an original, beautiful work of modern fiction, and this is how romance needs to be done. This is genius. But it's very funny, it's very witty, it's very light to read. There's not a whole lot of brain power required in understanding what's going on, and it's the kind of romance and the kind of friends that we all want to have. And again, especially for during the summer when we're kind of around our friends, typically, I mean, this year is a little different, but perfect for summer, just perfect. So third this is kind of in the same vein, and I just finished the third book in the trilogy after having read the first two books when I was like 16. It is the Perfect Chemistry trilogy by Simone Alcalese, and I hate the covers on these books because they make them look so trashy, and they're really not. So the whole trilogy is following three brothers, the Fuentes brothers. The first book starts out with the oldest, second, the middle kid, third, the youngest. And they're from the south side of Chicago, and it's kind of a rough neighborhood. They're going to a public high school where, at least, especially in this book, the oldest brother has just gotten involved with a local gang. So there is a lot of that involvement with the book, and it's really interesting to read about because, again, it's just not something that I think shows up a lot in fiction, or I haven't. Okay, so I have no idea if this is going to be of any good quality, but my phone freaked out again and insisted that it was too full to film. I literally had deleted everything. I don't know what else to do, so I got out my camera, which is meant for photography. It is not at all meant for recording, and we're gonna try it. I hate not being able to see myself, but we're gonna at least give it a shot. So I was talking about Perfect Chemistry by Simone Alcalese. It is a trilogy, follows three brothers, yada yada yada. These are really good, very sweet romances. You see a good character arc, especially in the brothers, because each of them begin to date girls from the north side of Chicago, so it's a very rich area, it's a very white area. And all of the characters really do grow from knowing each other, and it's very nice to see. You have a bunch of good friendships. You have the banter between brothers, which is not something I've ever seen in fiction very much. It's a lot of fun to read. It's summery. It does usually take place in the school year, if I remember right, because they do meet these girls at school, in each book that goes on. So the first book, of course, you're just hearing the first brother's story, but in the second book, you're learning about the middle brother's story, and also you still hear about the boy in the first book, Alex, where he is, where he's going, and then in the third book, it's even farther expanded upon for both of the older boys that you've met in the first two books. So it's a lot of fun. They all build on each other. Very lighthearted, even though they do have some major struggles from their station in life. They never really let it get them down. They always keep moving on, and it's just really encouraging. It's really beautiful, and it's really different. So although the writing is fairly juvenile, it's not a bad read. It is written in first person present tense, I believe, and that does kind of bother me. It's not my favorite. But once you get into the book, you don't notice it anymore. You become so active and involved with the story. You get lost so easily. That is not an issue anymore. So, my God, if the camera runs out of storage, I'm going to flip out. So, moving on to my fourth book. Again, it's in the same vein. It's very light, very fluffy, contemporary, romantic, feel good, so on and so forth. It is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I actually didn't intend to pick this up at all, but a couple years ago when the Netflix movie came out for it, there was a writing competition on Wattpad. It was like write a letter to your love that you never intend for them to read, and I did it, and after doing it I really got curious about the book, so I picked it up. It's 20% off the cover price at Target. And I have to admit, when I read this, someone very close to me had just passed away, and I really didn't enjoy it. And I think because it's so light and fluffy and doesn't really have a deep meaning, it's not hard to follow. I think it kind of made me feel like it was like mocking what I was going through, and I just kind of hated it for that. But it's not a bad story, and it's just the place I was at that made me not like it, I think. But it's not a bad book at all. Definitely a good summer read. Definitely a good beach read. It's very funny, kind of outlandish to think that this would happen. Again, the rules in the school aren't very realistic whatsoever. But it's fun. It's very juvenile, very old, more old school YA. It's just a good time. So my last book is kind of a marriage between the two kinds I like in a way, adding in that very thick fantasy book, and it is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I have talked about these books before on my channel and I just adore them, and I will never stop talking about just how amazing these books are. You follow Claire Randall at first. Her name is Randall. She is a World War II nurse that goes on holiday with her husband, who's been in the war also. They go to Scotland for like a second honeymoon to get to know each other because they've been apart for so long. While she's there, she runs into trouble and ends up back in time in the just pre-Jacobite rebellion, Scotland. So you have the last days of clan life that she is experiencing, definitely very old world Scotland. And she has to find a way to fight, survive, and maybe hopefully try to get back to her husband in 1940. What year did the war end? I guess it'd been 45, I think is when it takes place. That's horrible. This is my big fancy edition that I was so fortunate to end up, this takes away from the draw, to get signed. I love this book so much. And of course, to have a copy that the Queen herself autographed just makes it so much better. It is, of course, it's a little bit sci-fi because you do have the science fiction. It's very fantasy because she does run into magical creatures. And there's the presence of supposed magic that brings her back in time. But it's very swoony, you have a very swarthy Highlander. That is the center point of the romance, and he's very kind, very good man. And she is really an outstanding heroine, and you just really have a perfect couple and an amazing treacherous adventure that they go on, and it just ties all of what I love to read during the summer all in one. And I have not finished the series actually. I have read Outlander, Dragonfly and Amber, Voyager, and Drums of Autumn. I am on the 5th book, The Fiery Cross, which I do hope to get read this summer. But I'm just a little bit intimidated because it is like 1,400 pages. It is enormous. And I never used to be intimidated by huge books, but it's been a more recent thing, I guess, because I read so slowly that I am kind of nervous. But I'm hoping to get to it this summer because I've enjoyed all the books so far, and yeah, I'm just really excited. So that series, each book is truly like 1,000 pages, and I don't know if I can show you in this copy if you'll be able to see. This copy is like 700 pages, and the print is like that. It's pretty small. And of course, you've seen my paperback copies of the books before in my book abuse video. Yeah, you see about how big they are. So if you're not a fan of very long stories or a series that long, then maybe it's not for you. But it's right up my alley. I love it. And again, I like things too that are either very complicated or very easy to understand. There's like no between during the summer. So if you like one of those things, then I hope I got together some books and some ideas for you to read this summer. And yeah, so this video has been complete chaos, and I'm so sorry. I am really trying to get the filming thing figured out. Hopefully I can get my phone figured out because it's not acting right on top of everything. If this camera works out well, then maybe we'll just go to this camera. I have no idea what the video and audio quality is going to be, so you'll have to just be patient with me. Yeah. Everything will get figured out. I haven't been doing this for very long. I have no experience with technology. I majored in English for a reason. So yeah, I mean, I have faith everything will turn out, but it's gonna be difficult. That is pretty much all for the video. I hope you guys decide, like I said, to subscribe, stick around, and I'll see you guys for the next video, which will be uploaded on Friday. See ya.